Good morning, everybody. This is September 7th, and this is Tuesday Talk. Thank you so much for joining us on a wet, rainy Tuesday. And the good news is the hurricane that is out there and that is providing some of this rain is not headed our way. So that's great news. Let me give you a very brief update on COVID. We had an excellent weekend. There are no new cases to report in independent living, and that's since Thursday of last week. So that was when we did our last update. So we continue to look really well. There is nobody across the independent living, either staff or residents, that we're monitoring for COVID-like symptoms or that we're testing. So I feel really comfortable that we have a handle on this and that we've stopped the spread that started back in the first part of August. And we are, in fact, ready to proceed with the reopening. Phase 1, which takes effect tomorrow, the 8th of August, and then Phase 2, which will follow the next Wednesday, the 15th of August. So good numbers. Stable across the community. We're very comfortable that we can safely reopen and get back to normal operations. So there's an update for that. And I got to thinking that the hurricane that's out there in the Atlantic is not headed our way. Our COVID numbers look good. And wouldn't it be great for a change to have a Tuesday Talk where we actually are engaged in talking about something other than COVID? And so I've turned to Tiffany this morning to present a sounding board on transportation. And she is going to share some interesting information that we have gleaned from a recent sounding board. So I'm going to turn the presentation over to Tiffany and take it away.
Good morning, Regency Oaks. As Brent said, I am going to be your Vanna White today. Thank you and happy Tuesday. So basically, LCS does an initiative where they pick out different departments where they're looking to improve or have feedback from our staff members. We did have about 27 communities represented within the sounding board, and it was taken about mid-August. So we're going to give you that feedback regarding transportation, and we hope you enjoy. So as you can see from this slide, these are some of our key findings from that survey that we took. Just a reminder that these participants are random from different communities throughout the LCS portfolio. So it's just basically to be able to get that feedback to make our services even better. And the month of August was transportation. So we have 92% of our residents have at least one personal vehicle on campus. 97% of residents with at least one vehicle on campus says it is important for them to have it, primarily for independence and convenience. 88% of residents with vehicles have covered parking. 77% of residents utilize community-provided transportation services with some degree of frequency. 85% of residents who utilize community-provided transportation services are somewhat or very satisfied with them. The most frequently recommended transportation service improvements include hiring more drivers, adding additional vehicles and expanding days of service, hours of service, and radius of service. 20% of residents will be interested in care sharing services on campus, such as Zipcar or Car2Go, and what we use, Lyft. The number of vehicles in a household. 2/3 of residents, which is about 67%, park one vehicle at our community, while another 21% of the have two vehicles and 4% have more than two. My apologies. And actually, very recently at Regency Oaks, most of our demographic is coming in with two or more cars on campus. So it's been a little bit of a shift for that. So that's something we keep in mind when we are assigning parking spaces. The importance of having a vehicle. Among those who have a car/truck on campus, 97% says it's somewhat or very important to have their own vehicle. That can range from being able to do your own shopping, visit families, go out to lunch, or even go to your own appointments. So making sure that we understand the importance of having your own vehicles creates that sense of validation as well as your own autonomy. Oh, just an example of why vehicles are important, just like what I was mentioning. You have that independence and convenience are the primary reasons why residents do think having their own vehicle on campus is important. So you can see 10% says privacy. Of course, sometimes your appointments are going to be based on your own needs, so you don't want to have to go through the transportation services, or distance or destination limitations. You have your convenience, and then like we said, 74% is going to be that independence. Approximately half or 53% of residents drive their own car a few times per week, and another 37% drive their vehicle almost every day. Nearly 9 out of 10 residents, which is 88%, have covered parking for their vehicle on campus, whether it is above ground or underground. And specifically at Regency Oaks, many residents choose either covered parking or uncovered parking just based on their own personal preference. At Regency Oaks, based on the study that we took, 1 out of 5 residents, which is about 21%, pay a monthly parking fee. At Regency Oaks, you have the option to either do your one-time buy-in, or you can opt out and do the monthly parking fee. And uncover is always free, cover is the monthly fee. Nearly 9 out of 10 residents are somewhat or very satisfied with the parking accommodations at our community. Whether that parking space is under a tree or close to the door, or if you don't mind a nice little walk from your parking space to get that extra exercise, the satisfaction level with our parking is always going to be the utmost of our importance. For parking dissatisfaction, among residents who are dissatisfied with their parking options, the most frequently mentioned reasons involve the number of parking spaces available, either for residents or visitors. As you can see, sometimes the limitations that you have vandalism and theft, limited number of handicapped spaces, no fully covered spaces options, as well as limited number of spaces for visitors.
Stop.
As we all know, most of our dissatisfaction that we sometimes have at Regency Oaks with parking is that everyone wants to be as close as possible to the door. Most of the requests that I make have on a daily is that they want to get as close as possible to the front door area. So at Regency Oaks, that's usually what our dissatisfaction comes from, just trying to get as close as possible to the door to create that convenience. So as the times are changing, the electric car ownership is going to increase rapidly as well. At Regency Oaks, we actually have 2 credit card operated options for you to be able to plug up your electric car. Based on the survey, among residents who have a vehicle on campus, only 2% are electric. So we are making great strides with our 2 plug-in options at the campus for you to be able to use. So 1 out of 5 residents, about 21%, says that they were somewhat or very likely to purchase an electric car at some point in the future. Especially with Tesla, I know Toyota, everyone pretty much just kind of transitioning for the option to have electric cars. So we want to make sure we're able to provide that type of service to our resident, which is better for our environment. So this chart is showing the utilization of transportation services provided by our community. In comparison, 68% of rides with family and friends, you have 35% using Uber or Lyft, 13% using taxis, and 8% utilizing public transportation. So as you can see, the services that are being provided at our communities are being heavily used. The importance of our community provided transportation. I've spent quite a bit of time in transportation, so I'm able to see the importance of your medical appointments, personal appointments, whether you're seeing a lawyer, you need to go to the bank, CVS. So while not all residents are using community provided transportation, nearly all, about 95%, say that it is somewhat or very important for that community to be able to provide it, at least as a service. Availability of community provided transportation. Only 4% of residents say transportation provided by their community is frequently not available when they need it. Basically what it's saying is that anytime they do call down transportation and they have an appointment, they're always able to make it. So being able to rely on the staff and the team to be able to get you to your appointment, whatever you need to do, is always going to be a great service to have. Satisfaction with community provided transportation. Among residents who utilize their community transportation services, 85% are somewhat or very satisfied with that service. When asked how transportation services could be improved at their community, residents most frequently mention hiring more drivers, adding additional vehicles, and expanding service days, hours, and radius. Interest in car sharing services on campus was relatively low, with only 20% indicating they would somewhat or be very interested in this offering. I have to say, at Regency Oaks, our demographic seems to use car sharing more often, probably than other communities, because we do get quite a few of our residents who are still out and active that are still looking for that type of service even after our transportation department has closed. So just to close us out, thank you so much for following us today at our Tuesday Talk featuring myself, Tiffany, with transportation. As you can see from that feedback, transportation is heavily used and very important to our residents here. So other than that, please stay dry today and have a good day.